Smooth as Tennessee whiskey, sweet as cherry wine. Chris Stapleton, folks, great Caucasian singer from Tennessee, started in Kentucky. Welcome back. My name is Jared Waters, host of the podcast One Man, One Tree in a Hill, a podcast of being about alone with your own thoughts. And I have a special guest that will be joining us on the hill. Is my dear Caucasian friend, the vanilla face stand-up comedian, who's trying to rectify his career.
Rectify? Why do I have to rectify it?
He's had a long day and long night tonight. It is about 1 o'clock in the morning right now. It is 1 o'clock in the morning.
1:20.
1:20. We were supposed to do this, but today we just couldn't. We had too many conversations. Like, F it, let's do it on. Let's record this podcast now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Peter Guarraci from New Jersey. Peter,
hi, thank you for having me. Finally.
This podcast is we're only 14 episodes in.
I'm cool. So am I 14?
I'm gonna be honest. The way I edited, I don't know what you'll be.
I might be episode 5.
You might be. No, we were 8 episodes already dropped. We're at 10, then the next week 12. Yes, you're at 14.
Nice, man.
14.
Thanks for having me.
Third guest, fourth guest. Let's usually what we do on this podcast, before we get to know the person on the hill, but the way we've been talking, we're just gonna jump right into it.
All right, whatever you want to talk about. I'm raw.
Let's talk about, you've had a long day today.
Yeah.
Let's go through the emotions, how you got to this. Peter did our show, Tip of the Tongue, that happens every Tuesday night at 10. He did some controversial jokes today.
Yeah.
Different. I understand where you were going with the joke. Just wording.
I was experimenting.
You're experimenting on a joke, which is not a problem.
What I've been working on the last year is featuring. So I've been doing, like, this weekend I got to do like 25, 30 minutes like at a club west of Philly, which is great. And so...
Hold on, let me break that down for the guests, because some people are...
I can explain it.
Let me explain it. You just stay white. So,
That's okay to say, though. It's okay to introduce you as my white friend, but anyway, that's fine.
If you don't know, a comedy show, now New York City is different. New York City is more like spots. So everyone does like 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 8 minutes. But when you leave New York City to a comedy show, there's a host that does 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, the feature act, which is the middle act that does 25 to 30 minutes, and then the headliner who does 45 to an hour. So Peter is featuring right now on the road.
I started emceeing about a year and a half ago, and I made it my goal to actually, it's funny because Rich Aronovich, who I'm actually opening for this coming weekend, is a comic I look up to, who I've become friends with, and was kind of telling him what was going on, and actually was kind of asking him for some advice because I was having problems with somebody who was booking one-nighters who I thought was not treating me very well. A one-nighter is like a pop-up comedy show, like an Italian restaurant in Jersey or Pennsylvania, something like that. And so he gave me some advice, and what he said was, he goes, the next thing you want to do is get 25, 30 clean, like rock-solid minutes so that a headliner will want to
bring you on the road.
So I spent the last year working on that. But one of the things I've been thinking about lately is, am I too needy from the audience?
What do you mean too needy from the audience?
Am I too worried about getting laughs? Like, people talk about bombing.
All right.
I say this honestly. If one of my jokes gets a medium laugh, or if one of my jokes gets no laugh, I take that as a bomb. Like, my goal...
But you have 30 minutes on stage.
My goal is to... And I can't crush for 30 minutes, but I can crush for 15 minutes. So...
You can't crush for 30 minutes?
No, I mean, like, I do really good for 30 minutes, but that's not... I'm not at, like... I'm working towards...
You're working towards being a stronger feature act.
Yes.
Okay, good. I understand.
So what I mean to say is that I'm very hard on myself, so I want to get continuous laughs.
Got it.
So I take that as a bomb if, like, a joke just kind of goes over, like, even medium.
So your day started with this on your mind?
So one of the things I've been thinking about is I want to push myself, and I'm hoping that I'm not so needy for the audience's approval that I'm self-censoring, or I'm not taking risks, or not trying stuff, or just doing the safe. And what I mean by safe, I don't mean safe material. I mean safe stuff that I know that works, that I know is going to get laughs.
I noticed that about you, that you take a lot of risk.
Yeah.
Our show is about risk. Our show is like, we want
tonight,
people to do that. We want people
I got to the show. I got a text message that threw me for a loop. That really upset me right before and then I didn't even know I was going up, and I decided that I was gonna not do anything that's like my regular material, and I was just gonna. I've been doing.
But that's how our show is.
But I've been doing stuff like like last week I did the pair on a Monday night. There was 8 people in the audience, and all I did was riff, and it was great. Like it felt really good to just improv and riff. And so I went up and I started riffing, and I was doing something like thing about Harvey Weinstein not is not going to be found guilty, and I said that
which is an accurate point, because we think that he might pay off all the victims.
I don't even think that. I think that he's a scumbag. But I think that's a world of a lot of scummy behavior, and it's not against the law to be a scumbag. Like you have to actually prove that a crime was committed, and some
people have. I think he's being tried in California for that.
Well, they threw the California. That's what I brought up on stage. A woman who turns out is a comedian, I guess, started heckling, and I said I was like you. I was like, you know that you're not just guilty because it's been announced that you're guilty. Like you have to actually be proven guilty in a court, and it wasn't even that big of a thing. And to be honest, like I got off stage and one young comic who I don't even know came up to me and was like, he's like, listen, he's like, I don't agree with what you said. He goes, but like it was very ballsy. And like I don't even know if I guess he wasn't on the show, so I guess he was like watching in the back. He was like another comic.
And he ran off scared.
He ran off scared.
He ran off. It's because he thought his career was on.
And even a woman who was there with us, who's Cuban from Miami.
But she's from Florida. Florida people are completely different.
Which is fine, but like this idea that like comedians are going after other comedians is ridiculous to me.
But I think that if you preference that you do think he's guilty. Personally, you think he's guilty, but you don't think the court will find him guilty.
I think he's a horrible, horrible person, but from what I've read, I don't think they have a case. Again, this is like
they have a case, but you don't think they can prove
it. This is a hunch I have. Like the government wants to get their man, so if they go through this whole process where it's a trial, it's like a big show trial, it's all over the news, everybody knows about it, They want something. They're not going to just let him get away with nothing. And I think the jury probably thinks, all right, this guy, he did something. We got to get him for something. So I don't think he's going to get off scot-free.
Right.
But definitely the from what I've read, like the testimony of the actual, I guess they're not plain. This is so ridiculous because I don't even know enough about this case. I don't even know if this is This is a criminal case. So they're not plaintiffs in a criminal case. I forget what they're called. They're the victims.
The victims. I think that I understand where you're going with it. You're looking at it as inside a law room, thinking about having evidence to prove someone guilty and having conclusive evidence to find someone not guilty. I think it's just wording. Some people didn't hear. The last part is when you explained all that, but some people, once they hear the first 3 words, are just like, nah, we're blocking everything out.
Yeah, which is fine. But that's also like...
But I would say this before we go to... Because we both think Harvey Weinstein's guilty, and we don't think that he should be walking the earth without prison bars. You agree with that, right?
Again, if he did what he's accused of doing, then yes, of course.
Using power
if he actually raped anyone, then of course.
Right. But before that, we just want to clear that out the way just in case so people know your views on it. You're just highlighting a situation. I think what really we want to talk about is a text message that...
yeah, which is totally unrelated to this.
Yeah, because I understand.
Which is funny.
This is your point. You proved it. You think Harvey's a bad person. You were just talking about the situation. You really don't think he's going to prison. You think that he needs to go to prison for something else. You don't think no one can prove that he's guilty.
Well, again, I mean, I worked at a law firm for 2 years. I thought about going to law school, and then I didn't. I wish sometimes you ever hear it would have been cool to just go to law school and just know all this shit, so that you can be like, well, actually, the statute. Just in conversation, it would be cool to be able to bust out. But what actually happens in this kind of a case, I always liked those kind of people that. So I wouldn't necessarily want to be a lawyer,
Right.
but it would be cool that I wish I was more informed on like the actual way the process works. So because my hunch is that they had like they thought they had a slam dunk, and they don't have a slam dunk. But I don't know all the details, and I don't know how like the system works.
Right.
In that detail. I wish I did. I really wish I did.
Well, we're waiting. We're waiting to see what happens to Harvard.
Yeah, they're well as we speak, the jury is deliberating. So they did. Each attorney did their final closing statement, and now the jury is deliberating. So they have. It could be. It could be tomorrow. It could be a week from now.
Okay, so we'll try to drop this before the jury comes out. Okay, so we got that out the way. You establish what you feel. This is just you just betting. You think that he's not going to do. That's what you think. So we're going to talk about the text message that threw your whole day off.
Oh my god! Which I should say. I should say this. We're recording at 1:30 in the morning. I am like
me. I'm wide awake.
I have an expiration date. This is how I know I'm old. I used to be able to pull all-nighters, and you would never know the next day that I didn't sleep. Now, if I get to bed past 2:30 in the morning, I'm like I literally I start to fall off. Like I just get.
Well, we're gonna get to this.
I'm more uncensored now. I'm more raw, which I was also like more raw on stage because I had my guard down.
Yeah, your guard is down. So if you don't know, Peter Guarraci is inside a he's not in a relationship, but he's inside a relationship.
Yeah. As I said on stage, we've been working it out for about 3 years.
3 years, and this is the first time I've seen a 40-year-old white man cry in front of me on a train in public. He's cried probably for the past 15 minutes.
I was like...
Because I thought when you started crying, I was like, is it cold or something?
No,
usually when I see people tear up, I think it's cold. But this is when I realized, like, oh, you're fighting for your relationship.
So this is a funny thing about me. It's like I'm funny, but I'm also, like, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Like, I'm an emotional... Like, I cried the first time I saw the first Rambo movie at the end.
Oh, my God. What the freak?
And
it's because he's Italian?
Yeah, Stallone and me, we've had
Peter is Italian. If
there's
you don't
a deep
know.
Stallone and I have had a deep bond my entire life. I was a big.
Let's go over the text message first, and we're going to preference everything. Peter has been with his girl on and off with his girlfriend.
Not say her name, even though, I mean anybody who
we're
knows
not
me is going to know.
He's been on and off with his girlfriend for 7 years.
Yes, we were together for 3+, and then for the last 3+, we've been kind of circling around trying to figure out what the hell we're doing.
Figured out what he's going to do. So the last time they were together was what?
I mean, we like broke up like 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
But that was all after like breaking up like 4 other times.
I've been in the car with them before, and I've seen 2 Italians yell, and she's black.
She's black and Italian.
Black and Italian.
Yeah.
But the way they argued, I thought I was in the Good Times movie. I think Goodfellas. I thought I was like, man, someone might get hurt.
I say a joke that the Italian part of her makes amazing chicken cutlets, and the black part of her yells at me at Target on 117th Street. And it's true, she actually yelled at me in that Target.
Why do you think black people yell on 117th Street?
No, yelling in public.
I've never met a black person to yell in public at a Target before.
You never seen a black woman yell at her man?
No,
come on,
I have not. You think you're stereotyping black people?
That joke goes over. It goes over.
Now,
well.
if you would have said Magic Johnson Theater, I would have been like, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen a fight happen there. I've seen fights happen at Walmart. But Target is more of a classy thing.
No, it's just that it was actually at the Target
in
East Harlem. It wasn't because Target represents anything. It's just that it actually literally happened at the Target.
Correct. But I think
she had me called by the PA system to come to, like I was like a 12-year-old.
She called you?
They said, Peter Guarraci, please come to the front desk. And then when I got there, she was yelling at me because I got lost in the Target. Like I literally like I was a 12-year-old.
You got lost in Target, and your girlfriend
had me
7 years.
She had me paged
to come to the front
desk of the Target, and then she yelled at me for not staying behind her. And I'm known to, like, I'm a little bit, as my one friend said, I'm the for somebody who never did any hard drugs, I'm a little flighty. And so I'm known to, like, wander off. And
let's break down the text message first.
Okay, so we haven't spoken. We have a cat. You have to preface this that we have a cat. So
No, I don't. I want to do that afterwards. I want to break the text message
okay,
down.
so we haven't had any communication except for relating to the cat for the last 2
but
months.
we're going to talk about the cat after you read the text message.
I gotta.
Read the
She's
text
gonna.
message.
This might be the
No,
final.
this is
nail
going to
in the-
save your relationship.
Jared. So I should say, Jared.
I said it in the car. Y'all love each other in front of you. And she kept telling me to be quiet.
No, so this is what I want to say about Jared. Like Jared and I remember. I guess when we met, maybe on Harlem Nights, one of those nights. Like,
Yeah.
we became like fast friends. Like I'm somebody who, I make acquaintances easily, but I don't make friends easily.
Fast.
And we bonded right away. So you're somebody that like I will open up to you in a way that I might not open up to. There's no way I would be having this conversation with another fucking comedian that.
But you're a man on the hill.
Other guys that I'm friends with that I might even be closer friends with than you, I would not be. I don't even talk to them about
But
her.
you have to think about it like this: when you open up tonight, you are helping another man in your situation that's probably going through the same
Yeah.
thing.
So
That probably is in that locked up thing. Like, I'm trying to take a relationship forward. Like, where do we go from here?
the reason I bring this up is because you have been. Like ever since I brought her up, you're always like, you gotta. This is what you gotta do with this woman. Like, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's bad. Like she doesn't want to be. You're like, no, you gotta do that. And so we picked you up one time to take you to Governor's, and you got in the car, and you're like, who is this woman? And I was like, no, that's my girl. And then you told me that when I got off stage, like when I was on stage at Governor's, she was like, you said that the way she was looking at you, like she loves you.
She adored you. Look, I've been seeing women around stand-up comedy a while, right? I've seen a lot of women. I've seen girlfriends. I've seen people who don't like stand-up comedy. She was looking at you like she watched the love of her life love someone else in a good way, like happy that you're loving this. She's happy that you're happy. So she was laughing at your jokes. At the same time, she was looking around to make sure nobody was heckling you. She was like a real wife, like a comedy wife.
She's very protective.
She's not a comedy spouse because there are comedy husbands out here. She was very protective of your jokes. She was making sure the jokes went well. She was supporting the bar. And I was like, oh, they love each other because y'all argued for 40 minutes.
In the
car. She told you to shut up so many times. And I think I got it all recorded.
You might have done you might have gone live.
I was recording this whole conversation. I was like, these two people argue like they love each other.
It was just the video was of you, but and the audio was just of us.
That's like when I record the kids, I'm just like, it's me. You can't see anybody else. You just listen to the conversation.
So funny, dude. You're so funny.
So you guys are having this conversation, and I was sitting there and thought about it. I was like, it reminded me of people who want to be together but can't find.
Yeah, so that's been the story.
Y'all want to be together. Y'all just haven't.
We can't seem to figure it out. And I said to you, like, I think I'm addicted to making my life as difficult as possible.
And so is she.
And she, I mean, clearly we're like a match made in heaven. Then
we just have to get you guys to heaven.
Yeah.
First, she needs to give her life to Christ. That's the first problem.
She is angry.
I don't know. Isn't she Catholic, right?
I'm a Christian. She's angry at God, I think.
She's had now. We can go this route. You will go that route. There's a reason why you think that she's angry at God, because she's had a hard life.
Yeah, she's
trauma. Met you at a low point in her life.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I met her. Well, I mean,
you were coming out of a low point in your life, and she was going into one.
I put my life back together after years of disaster, and I kind of tried. I made a mistake, which is people often make, which is I tried to grab her by the hand and pull her with me.
Pull her out.
And people have to face that shit on their own. They can't. It's the hardest thing. The hardest thing to do is to be around somebody who is suffering in pain, and you can't fix them.
You can't help them. Take your time. We're gonna get tissues, folks. We're gonna.
No,
be
I'm fine. I'm fine.
You sure?
Listen, this is not my first rodeo.
All right. So before we go to where your devils were, let's talk about not her demons, but we talk about she was having a hard time because she lost important people in her life when you met her.
And so it was a tough childhood, and then she lost her job, and then we met. And
did her mother pass away before she lost her job, or
no? Her mother died like a long time ago.
Okay,
like 15 years ago. And I can't even imagine. Like I just lost my grandmother last year at 93. I can't imagine what it's like. I have had no tragedy in my life. I met all four of my grandparents. They were in my life until they were in their 90s. I still have a grandfather alive. My parents are still married. No one's ever had any, but I've had friends lose parents. I've had any kind of difficulty in my life has been created by me.
But what? Okay, so she doesn't have a job when you meet. Where do y'all meet at? Where do y'all?
So I was working at a little Italian restaurant. It's actually cute because I had wanted.
It's typical stuff.
So it's a funny story. So I worked at a little Italian restaurant. I was a waiter. I was, like I said, I was just putting my life together. I was living in. No, I had moved to the city finally. I'd been living at my grandmother's house in Jersey and commuting for years. And this really cute little neighborhood restaurant, the bar I think sat 9 people, maybe 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I had met a couple girls and it just wasn't going anywhere. I couldn't get like a third date. I was like really in a bad way.
This is 2013, yes?
Give or take. Yeah, 2012, 2013.
Yeah, that's when I met my lady too.
I see a pretty girl sitting at the bar with another woman that she was friends with. They were clearly together. And even one of the managers was like, "Oh, did you see that girl at the bar?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Yes, I did." And, the night started to get a little quieter. The seats around the bar started to empty up. And I'm bold sometimes.
You're pretty bold.
I can be bold.
You're bold on Instagram, too.
I can be shy, but I can also be... Am I bold on Instagram?
Remember that post I commented on?
Oh, yeah. That's funny. See, I don't even think of that as being... Maybe I'm just like...
That's bold.
I might just have Asperger's because
like,
I don't know
like,
the
whoa.
social cue. Like, I don't know when I'm like, other people are like, "Oh, that's really a thing that you did."
I was like, man, Peter's shooting his shot right here in the open, isn't he?
So I... And it's my friend Carmen, who was the bartender. He was helpful. So I sat at the end of the bar because we would kind of like...
What is this, an episode of Dick Tracy or something?
We would hang at the end. We would hang at the end of the bar. So I sat at the end of the bar, and Carmen goes, "Oh, Peter's Sicilian too." And so this girl, she was talking about how her father is from Sicily. I was like, "Oh, where's your father from?" She said Castellammare, which is a beautiful place that I've been to in Sicily.
I've been to Sicily too as well.
And I started telling her about it. She's like, "Oh yeah, I've never been there." So we started talking a little bit, and then her friend did the coolest thing, which is her friend started to retreat a little bit so that we would have a little one-on-one time. Because if there had been 2 women there, I might not have been as bold. But since the friend kind of backed up a little bit and gave us a little space, I said, "Hey, listen," I literally said this so cheesy. I was like, "Hey, if you ever want to get together and talk about Sicily, can I get your number?" So the funny thing, the cute thing is that when we were together and everything was great, she'd always be like, "Tell me again about the story about the time that you asked me out." And because then I called her, which she said, she goes, she's like, "I was very impressed that you actually called me to say hello and asked me out on a proper date."
So you called the night, or you called?
No, I
the
called
date?
a couple days later, and then I took her out to my.
Did you pass your phone to her, or she put it in herself?
I don't remember. I think I just asked her for a phone number, and then I may have texted her one time and said, "Hey,
this is Peter."
Yeah, I think it was. I remember because it was right around Halloween, so I was like, "Hey, I hope you're having a fun Halloween."
What type of phone did you have?
At the time, I had an early iPhone, I think.
iPhone 3.
Probably.
Okay, so you had the 3 with the wide base.
Probably, yeah.
And she says, she gives you a number. Does she leave the bar then?
She leaves, yes. So the thing that was cute, too, is I never worked on Tuesdays. I picked up a Tuesday night. And the way that she found her way there was that her and her friend were going to a work party on the block. It was lame, and when they got off the subway, they said, "Oh, remember that cute spot on the corner that we saw when we got off the subway?
Right.
Why don't we just go there and have a drink?"
Okay.
So that's how we met. So it was nice.
You weren't supposed to be working on a Tuesday.
And she had never been there.
Be
she
there.
found her way in there, and we met.
And y'all both were Sicilian.
Yes.
Beautiful
I didn't
woman
know,
too. I've met her before. She's
so
beautiful.
I thought she was Hispanic, which a lot of people think. So I didn't. She's Sicilian, and her mother was black, which I didn't even realize until she told me. And I go, "Oh, I was like in a Bronx Tale."
Sammy Davis.
Was he?
I never saw Money Talks.
Oh, and I don't remember.
Chris Sucker pretended to be black
in Bronx Tale.
Okay.
Well, there's Giancarlo Esposito. He's famously black and Italian.
Okay. I don't know, but yeah,
he's bugging out in Do the Right Thing.
There we go. Now you got.
Which is very interesting. See, we just did that. We just did Do the Right Thing on my podcast, and it got a little heated because we were talking about this stuff. That's a very interesting move by Spike to cast an actor who's Italian and black to play the character that incites a fight with a bunch of Italians in the neighborhood that leads to the horrible climax of that movie.
Don't judge me. I've never seen Do the Right Thing before.
Really? You should watch it and talk about
You got the DVD at your house?
No.
Is it on Netflix?
I got it. I got the DVD from Netflix. I'm old school. I get DVDs in the mail. I'm the last guy in New York that still does
I'm going to watch it now. I'm going to watch it. Okay, so we go there. You guys meet. You set her up. You call her and say what?
I asked her out on a date.
I'm the bald dude from the bar.
Yeah, remember me? I'm the funny guy.
What did she say?
I don't remember this at this point.
Come on,
I remember
remember.
I remember we talked one time. I was at a diner and I was eating I was actually eating a milkshake at the diner, and she didn't believe me, so I sent her a picture of the milkshake to be like, no, really, I'm eating a milkshake right now at the diner.
Where was y'all first date at?
So my favorite pizza place in New York City is a place called Lucali in Carroll Gardens, and she actually lived in Carroll Gardens but had never been there.
Okay.
So I said, why don't we go to Lucali? So I met her there. I was late because I lived in Jersey at the time.
Late to your first date.
So I was late to the first date. And I remember her standing. I remember her standing outside of the place, like kind of huffing, like kind of like her nose was in the air because she was like pissed. Like, really, this guy's gonna fucking stand me up. Right. But we went in there. If you've never been there, it's like a really charming little like candlelit room, small like place. You have to wait sometimes an hour to sit down, and it's BYOB. So I had a friend. His name is Lucky John. And he's an Italian guy that made wine. And I took a bottle that Lucky John gave me, and I brought a bottle of homemade wine to Lucali. So not only was I taking her to like this dope pizza place as a first date, but I brought a bottle of wine that my friend made, which is very unique.
What did she say when she saw you pull up?
She was like, I could tell she was pissed. And I felt bad, but I was like, listen, I'm so sorry. Like, it took me, there was traffic, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I could see she had, like, a bit of an attitude. I like girls with attitude, and I could sense it on her right. I mean, anybody who knows her, anyone who's seen her around me, like, she's got a huge fucking attitude, which I like. I like a challenge. I can't be with a girl who's, like, if a girl's, like, too nice to me.
It's fireworks when y'all are together.
Yeah, and I lose interest. I lose interest very quickly if there's not fireworks.
It's fireworks, but entertaining.
Oh, I'm sure a camera crew should follow us around all day long. I think it's probably
very
hilarious.
Entertaining.
I wanted to do film a pilot with her where we do like either a cooking show or like a home building show where we're like the couple on the show.
She doesn't want to be a part of the business.
Not at all. So this is what's interesting too. So I did stand up for the first time when I was 8.
Let's not skip that part. Let's go to the first date. Let's finish how.
Okay, so
how
the first date
ended.
went really. We went to there's another bar in that neighborhood called Brooklyn Social Club, which is one of my favorite bars. It's literally like she's like, oh, I go there all the time. That's like down the street from my apartment. So we went there and we had a drink, and I think I kissed her at the bar.
In the mouth.
Yeah. How else is one?
I know some Italians kiss on the cheek. Or
no, I mean you always kiss on the cheek too. But I kissed her right. I planted one right on the lips.
She kissed you back.
Yes.
And then
I knew. I mean, I don't.
So you all start dating.
We started dating.
After that, y'all start dating. You made it clear to her that
we talked
I'm
for
to
a couple of months, and then this was probably October, and then by January we decided to like. She said to me, she goes, I don't know if I want to have like a serious blah blah blah, and then I said, well, it's funny because I don't remember now. I remember the first time I said I love you more than I remember like.
When did you say it?
So we went to Montauk for the weekend in that March, which was 2 months after we like.
Did you say you loved her after she started living with you or before she started living with you?
Oh no, before we started living together. We went to Montauk for a weekend, which I had never really. It was like a big thing. Like we like took a mini vacation together. We got like a hotel. We drove out there. I jumped in the ocean. It was like 30 degrees. It was exhilarating.
Now let's let the people know. You guys, you said you loved her within 5 months. 4 months?
Maybe sooner.
Would you say that you guys fell in love quick?
It moved fast, yeah.
And I think with the society that we live in today, that people can love quick. I believe in love at first sight.
So I was at a point in my life too, and I'm 7 years later. I'm not looking to screw around. Like I'm looking for something serious.
But I feel like you're playing around now.
Listen, meeting girls is easy.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying.
But like
girls.
really connecting with somebody and really finding somebody is hard.
You know that she's the one, if not.
I'm not looking to like mess around. I'm looking to like
be looking for a wife.
Be serious. Yeah, I'm
ready to have kids.
I'm like a little baby crazy. I smell like babies, and I'm around my nephews, and I was like, I can do this. I could be a dad.
Okay, so first date goes good. Before we go, y'all moving in together. That was her coming into the relationship. you coming in? You were coming from what? Because you said you just got out of hitting rock bottom.
Yeah, so I had a really bad gambling problem for years. So I had been living in my grandmother's house. Basically, I grew up in a culture where everyone played cards. Like my dad took me to Vegas when I turned 21. Like if I told my parents I had a drinking problem, they would have been like, oh, like no drugs, no alcohol. Like it was like shameful. But like everybody they knew gambled. And it was just around. Like guys got together, they played cards.
How
like,
bad was it? How bad? How much money have you lost?
I mean, I can't even count, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I spent years. Let's put it this way: I spent years where I was waiting tables in the city, making really good money, and never had any money. And I was like living in my grandma's house because I didn't have the money to. I couldn't like take the step to like move out and get an apartment. At one point, I had a chance to move into an apartment in Manhattan. And I didn't take it because I was nervous about the money. And then I got another job where I was making even more money. But I was just like, I was in this like cycle where I was living in my grandma's house. I was miserable because since I was a little kid, my dream was to live in New York City. Like I wanted to be here. And I'm working in New York City, making money, and I'm stuck in New Jersey, which was like the worst case scenario.
So you're 33 at your grandmother's house in your grandma's basement.
At that point, by the time I'm 33, this is like 6 years of this. No, living not in her basement, but like living in. She had an extra bedroom, and I was like helping her. I had an aunt that was my great aunt was my great uncle, who was like a third grandfather to me. He and his wife, they lived across the street. They didn't have any kids. I loved him. His wife, I fucking hated. And she was crazy. Like, literally, and I don't say that word lightly. She was crazy. Like, she was, like, certifiably mentally ill. Did
they gamble, too?
I'd heard that when he was younger, yes. But no kids. He lived in an apartment. He was, like, a sweet old man. And then he passed away. He had emphysema, and then he finally died. And I was, like, like I said, he was, like, a third grandfather to me. She, then basically was abandoned by her family because she probably was schizophrenic, and then she started to have dementia too. And at this point, she's 82 years old. She never wanted to take any medication. He probably had some medication for her mental illness. She never wanted to take it. She used to hit him. Like, he had bruises on his hands, so we all knew that she abused him. But he was embarrassed. He didn't want to talk about it. Like, he would like run away. Like, he would get in his car and like run away. He was also crippled. He had polio, so his one leg was shorter than the leg. So he was really kind of stuck with this woman, and I fucking hated her for that. So
this is all in your grandparents' house?
This is across the street from my grandma's house.
So this is like
so
an
she's
Italian
like coming over. Yeah, this is in the neighborhood.
So everyone's just coming over.
So my uncle dies, and now she's all alone. Her family tries to deal with her, but they can't deal with her, so that her family completely abandons her. So like, I'm literally the only person there. So
caregiver.
Me and my grandmother basically become her caregiver. I had her on 7 pills a day. She started taking like there's literally like different kinds of like antipsychotic medication, and it's like you either take this pill or you take this pill. I had her on both pills. Like, that's how, and she had like full strength.
So we have to preference this, because when you say living at home with your grandparents at 33, it sounds like you're a scrub, but at the same time, you're literally a caretaker.
My grandmother also had apartment building, so I was basically like
a tenant.
I was like a super for her too. Like, I was like dealing with the tenants.
So yeah,
my grandmother didn't speak English. So the funny thing is that I'd have all this stress from my family, and then I would be like, you know what, I deserve to get away from this. So I would drive to Atlantic City as like my relief from like all the craziness of my life. At one point, I put it this way. At one point, I went to go get a massage. I paid $80 for like an amazing like professional massage. I felt great. Mm-hmm. I get dressed. I turn my phone on. There's all these calls and messages. My grandmother's got a problem. My aunt, my dad. Immediately, all the tension came back into my back, and I was like, well, why did I pay somebody for a massage when literally, like, my problem isn't muscle tension. My problem is all this stress and anxiety from my life, my living situation.
Was it from your life or the gambling as well? How
so the gambling was just another. It's where you take something you take a life that's already difficult and you make it impossible. So I would go to Atlantic City thinking like, oh, this is my escape. I can come down here, and started out playing poker small. And they say that gambling is a progressive like addiction, and I saw the progression because I literally went from, and again, like I like me and my buddies would go sometimes, and we would mess around, but it was never anything crazy. But it's like you go down there with $100 and you lose $100, and then you're like, who goes to the ATM? I wouldn't pay an ATM fee now. Like, who goes to the ATM in a casino? Like, what are you, nuts?
Right.
And then a couple of months goes by, and then all of a sudden you're going to the ATM in the casino.
What's
and
the
then
most that you've won?
At one point, so I started playing. It's funny enough, I started playing blackjack because I got tired of taking bad beats in poker. A bad beat is like when something like next to impossible happens, like a hand that you should win, you end up losing. Is called a bad beat because because of the turn of the cards. So I got real sick of taking bad beats. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a break from this, and I'm gonna start playing blackjack. So for whatever reason, I started winning right away at blackjack. I was down to my last $25, which was from money that I had borrowed from my cousin. I told him I had to like pay for a class or something. I told him I was like taking an acting class or something. And so I turned that $25
into what?
Into about $40,000.
Come on.
Not immediately, but like that first day, I think I won $1,500 from the $25.
What did you?
And then I won back, and I won like $7.
Did you do like a rapper and like put the money somewhere?
They give you, you push your chips in the middle, and they give you like $5,000 like wrapped in like the paper from the bank.
What's the most money you ever showed somebody?
So I would go there. Like I had it. There was a point where I was like, I like knew one night like the lucky dealer was there. I would play like in what's called the pit in the Borgata, which is like $100 minimum section. Like Big Papi from the Red Sox would be there sometimes playing
Papi.
the next table over. There'd be Eagles and stuff. Yeah, I heard like Jordan would be there sometimes. I never saw Jordan, but like he would be there like in the like super VIP area,
rich area.
So at one point I had to like. And I was doing this, I'd be gambling for like 15, 18 hours, and then I would drive 2 hours back to North Jersey. I would sleep for 2 hours, and then I would go work a double at a restaurant waiting tables.
Didn't you tell me a story how you had
So at one point, I gambled all night. I drove back to work, and I was with my two like buddies that I work with, and I said, hey guys, do you want to see what $17,000 looks like? And so I took them into the back room, and they were like literally like taking photos with the money, and they're like, oh my god, this is amazing. I took people with me. I got sweets. I even like I took my friend on we called it a mancation, but this was early before people had terms like that. I think we invented mancation. And I'm sitting at the blackjack table with him, and I told the dealer, I go, she's like, oh, what are you guys doing? I was like, oh, we're down here for the night, we're hanging out. And I go, you know what I want to do? I'm gonna win $5,000 for me, and I just for fun, I want to win $1,000. I want to win $2,000 for my friend. And she's like, what are you, nuts? And I go, no, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to win $5,000, and I'm going to win another $2,000, and I'm going to give it to my friend. And then we got to the point where I think I had $5,000, and then I had $1,500 for him. And I go, all right, we're cashing out. She goes, that's it? You're just going to leave? I said, yeah, no, I feel like we're done. So for a while there, I was actually
What did that guy say? Thank you so.
Yeah, I was tipping the cocktail waitress $100 for bringing me a hot chocolate. I actually went on a date with this girl who was a cocktail waitress. Should have realized that she was nuts, but I gave her $100 for a hot chocolate, and then she gave me her number on the cocktail napkin.
So you got $100. I know you got more when that comes.
She was cute. She was Chinese. We went out one time. She brought me green tea ice cream, which I had never had before. So, and we saw the movie. Just real quickly, this is like. We went to see the movie 50-50. It's Seth Rogen.
Oh, Seth Rogen, he has cancer.
His friend Jonathan Gordon-Levitt has cancer, and I'm in the theater sitting next to her. I'm like, I'm like, I hope she doesn't see the tears. I'm like crying in the movie theater on the
If you
first
don't know,
date.
Peter is a crier. I just found that out tonight at 1 a.m. I found that out tonight. Okay, let's do that. So when did you hit rock bottom? When did you know that gambling? When did gambling hit you to the point where like I gotta stop? I gotta get help.
This is, and I hate even admitting this because this is really. So I was a kind of person. I was always an honest person. I was a person that I would walk a block to save 25 cents on a cup of coffee. Like I was always like that. But like gambling makes you lose your fucking mind. So I became my aunt's caretaker, and she had money left over from my uncle, and she said to me, she goes, pay for my life, and whatever's left over when I die is yours.
Pay for my life. What
like she's like, take care of me, like take care of whatever I need. So I had like I had a tab going at the deli across the street where she would go and have breakfast. Like, she didn't have any concept of money. She never paid a bill. She said to me at one point, she goes, I've reached the age where I no longer have to pay my bills. I was like, well, that's funny because they'll turn your lights off if you don't pay the light bill. So I was paying all her bills, getting her medication. Then I put her in, I actually ended up putting her in a nursing home, which I thought was like going to alleviate the problem. And she ended up having to go to the nursing home like 3 times a week because she was like having like full on meltdowns.
Panic attacks and stuff.
And she spoke Italian. They had Polish nurses. I just couldn't get any relief. And I was like super panicked. I didn't know what to do. So what happened was there's a thing in a casino called a marker, which is where they basically give you a free loan to gamble. And I went in and I got a marker. Another gambler goes, oh, you should get a marker. And so I go and I said, how do I get a marker? And they actually had my records of my gambling. And the boss of the casino, one of the bosses goes, oh, you're a nice little gambler here. I see you play with us often. He goes, I can give you, he goes, if you take out a $5,100 marker, you get 45 days to pay it back, interest free. That's like a service that they provide for the gambler so that you don't have to carry all the cash with them. So I took out a marker and I lost the $5,100, which I did not have. So I took the money out of the joint account I had with my aunt. And then I went to go pay that back. And then I went to pay it back. And then I lost again. And then I went to pay it back and I lost it again. And now so then my aunt started to deteriorate and it looked like she was close to dying. And I literally was like in the casino praying that I would like win. I was like, dear God, let me win this money so I can put this money back in the bank. And like once you start losing like that, you're just like like I was winning for a couple months, and I was like untouchable, and I got sweets and fucking steak dinners. The minute I started losing, I never won again. I was just like tainted. And I remember being my aunt deteriorated to the point where she was in hospice. I never saw her conscious again. And I sat at her side and I thanked her, and I said, because the shame of knowing that I had become this person, that I would do such a thing, is what made me stop. Because I could have done a lot more damage. I had access to more money. When she died, there was still money in the bank. But I couldn't believe that I had become this person, because it was everything against who I was as a person. And I said thank you to her, because if it wasn't for her, when it was just me losing my money and going to work every week and like literally losing my paycheck, knowing I'm going to get another paycheck next week, I could justify it. But when I had become this person who was dishonest and was like really shameful, and anybody at any point, if anybody like looked at the bank records and been like, dude, why is there this money missing from the account, I wanted to get caught, and I just never got. I was just getting away with it, and the getting away with it was like more corrupting and made me more messed up in the head. I was super. I like to joke that I'm like 85% manic and 15% depressed, and that was true then too. Like I was very manic. I couldn't. I would sleep, but I would be tossing and turning. My head would be spinning all night. And when you're a gambler, you don't sleep well. Okay. And so finally she passes away, and I said, you know what, thank you for this gift, because she really, and I thank my uncle too, because it was really for them that I was like, you know what, I have to, I don't want this for my life anymore. I want to stop. And that's when I quit gambling, and that was it. My life, everything in my life changed. Within 6 months, was able to like get a room in an apartment in Astoria. And then 6 months after that is when I met Joelle. So when I met her, I was like just new at living like an adult.
You stepped into manhood.
Yes.
You're into manhood.
Late, very late, embarrassingly
33.
Late, but
33.
But finally decided to turn my life around.
That you come from a big family, and I think it's a culture-wise, because in other cultures, people live with their families until they're debt free.
Or my dad moved out when he got married, but he got married at 29. He got married at yes, he had me at 31. Got married at 28.
So you meet your lady at 33, right? So 33, you're officially clean. You're clean. How long have you been clean from gambling?
When I met her was a little over a year.
Did you tell her that you had a gambling issue?
So it's funny, because I had gone on a couple dates, and when you like a thing that happens like is you can be like an oversharer. So I would go on a date with a girl and be like, yeah, I used to have a gambling problem, and it's like you would put too much on a person when you first meet them.
Okay.
So I actually had learned to not do that. And the funny thing with her was we had gone on a couple of dates. We're hanging out, and she goes, "What's your deal?" She goes, "You're not, you don't have a drinking problem. Drugs are not your thing." She goes, "Are you a gambler or something?"
Dang.
And I go, "Why would you say that?" She goes, I sensed that you had a problem that you like overcame, and like I said, like clearly it's not drugs and alcohol.
She read you.
So, and I was like, wow. So I didn't want to tell her yet, and she sensed it, which was like, what? So I told her, and funny thing is I had a lot of anxiety
about it
with her and like opening up to her. And then I finally told her the thing that caused me the most shame and anxiety, which is the thing about my aunt. And when I told her that, like immediately, like the anxiety was lifted.
came off. What did she say?
She says it's okay. She goes, everybody, screws up, and like it's okay that it's like I understand you're trying to be a better person. She goes, I think that's admirable.
So you are going up in life because you just kicked your addiction.
Yeah.
You meet her. You said she's going down a little bit because she just lost her job.
She was like, when I met her, she was
What
like,
was she doing to lose her job?
She was freelance. She told me that,
she's a writer, right?
She worked for a newspaper, but she was on like the marketing side. And she had then she got like she lost that job. A bunch of people like in her office like got laid off. And then she was like, she was doing like a freelance, like part-time thing. And then she lost that. And then, so she was like having a tough time. Like she had been in New York for a while. She had like I get the sense that she had like, she left California behind, and she left to
California to make it in New York.
She left the pain of what that reminded her of from her childhood to come and start a new life in New York. And then all of a sudden New York wasn't working so good.
Okay, so it's not working so good. But before we go into her, when did you find your house? Like, how to tell the stories, how you found your own place, right? Or did you have your own place before you met?
No. When I met her, I was literally living they were two cooks. They were like young, like getting drunk every night. They were like working at like restaurants, like young. I was like, I was renting the room in Astoria with them, and they were like, the landlord hated them and like came in like screaming one night because they'd be like partying like while I was asleep in the other room. So when I first started dating her, she had like a sweet apartment in Carroll Gardens that she was going to eventually move out because her landlord sold it to some like Connecticut guy who was going to like gut renovate the whole house.
Got it.
And then I was living in that room, and then I had, should I tell the penthouse story?
Yeah.
So again, like that's
where I was going.
I've had some like weird blessings in my life. Like I walked away. I have faith. I do have faith. I'm a believer. I didn't tell you about when I. Oh, dude. This is related to gambling. So when I had like I kind of run out of money gambling. I can't believe I forgot this story. So I run out of gambling. I'd run out of money gambling. I was working at the little restaurant. So this little restaurant was so small that the prep kitchen was actually in the basement. So they had a trap door that they would have to run up and down from the main kitchen to the prep kitchen to like in the middle of service. Little tiny place that sat like 30 people. So one night it was so slow that we cut the buster. So me and another server were doing everything ourselves, even busting the tables. And there was literally a curtain that you got into the kitchen, and sometimes the trap door would be open. So they put the linen basket behind the curtain, and if you felt the linen basket, that meant don't come in because the trap door is open. So I'm not used to busting tables, so I'm pushing through the curtain with a handful of plates. Next thing I know, I feel air. I felt like I blacked out immediately. I fell down the trapdoor, midair turned so that I landed completely 180 the opposite direction of the way that I fell, landed on my butt with my feet in front of me, sitting up. And the people upstairs, the cooks, they thought maybe that I was dead. I had what they thought was blood all over me. We were famous for like a bolognese sauce.
They thought you were
so the bolognese, the plates went flying and the bolognese landed on my head. So they thought it was like chunks of brain and blood on my head. So ambulance came. Like the doctor's like, I went to the ER. Doctor's like, it's a miracle. Like there's nothing. There's no concussion. There's no broken bones. There's nothing. So literally, I was like, I'm in bed for like a day, like my back is a little bit sore. And then I was like, I got to press my luck. And so I go to Atlantic City, and that's when I started winning. And I thought that God
thought
was
it was
like
divine
I
intervention.
thought God was rewarding me for all my years of suffering and losing by letting
Start
me
gambling.
win. So that happened, and I was like, "That's it. I'm in. I'm untouchable. I'm unstoppable." And so
that's the blessing. And talk about how you got the penthouse. So you're living in this massive penthouse.
So I'm living in a little dinky, not dinky, but like it was like not an ideal situation, like sharing a room with like a couple of 20-something like cooks. So I got to move out. The lease is up, whatever. So I literally, at that point, what I could afford is if you take the 4 train to the very end in Brooklyn, and then you walk 6 blocks past beyond where the subway is, and then you're looking at buildings that it's still 2x4s and they haven't finished the apartments yet, but the landlord promises that in 2 weeks the apartment's going to be ready to go.
Never get finished.
That's what I was like looking at to rent. So I was like trying to figure out what I was going to do. I didn't want to have to move back to grandma's house. So when I was working at the restaurant, it's in the neighborhood on the Upper East Side, there was a woman, Phyllis, who had a white lab I became friends with the dog. I used to walk the dog. I used to hang out with the dog. The dog's name was Willie. So
what did the dog say when you met him?
He was. I just like I don't know. He just let me rub him. He's like you know when
That's so
dogs
weird.
just like lay on their back and they're just like they're so excited to see you. His tail would like wag and he like knocks kids over. The dog was too much for her, and so I really feel like a voice said to me, "Go talk to Phyllis." So I called Phyllis. It was a brutally cold day.
How long have you been walking this dog for? Like
a couple months.
Okay, so you've been walking him.
And I've become friends with her, and I remember I stopped in like the Wall Street area, and I'm just like literally just like walking around like Battery Park, and it's like so cold, the wind is whipping off the river, and a voice says, "Ask Phyllis." So I called Phyllis up and I said, "Phyllis, hey, I'm coming by the neighborhood. Let me take the dog for a walk. It's too cold for you to take the dog out today, and I got a question for you." So I said, "Phyllis, I'm gonna take the dog out, but like, do you know anybody who's like renting an apartment? I'm looking for something. Maybe somebody has like a townhouse with like a basement, like kind of illegal apartment." And she goes, "Funny you should ask. Take the dog for a walk, and when you get back, we're gonna talk." So she was a therapist, so she sat me in her office. She sat behind her desk, and I sat in the chair like I was her patient,
client.
And she had like her hands clasped, and she said, "It's very interesting that you asked me this question because I have an apartment a couple blocks away." And I've had tenants there for 5 years that I've known, and they're moving out in 2 weeks. And she goes, you look at the apartment and tell me what you think. So we meet. The apartment is a penthouse apartment on the Upper East Side with windows facing 87th, Lex, and 86th.
Moving on up like the
no, I'm sorry,
boy.
88th, Lex. Literally windows on 3 streets. And
Moving
doorman,
on up.
and so I grew up watching the Jeffersons. I was a block from Park Avenue, and I told her what I could afford, which was $1,200 a month. And she goes, she basically was holding on to the apartment until she was ready to sell her townhouse and just move into the apartment herself when she didn't want to like walk the stairs anymore. So I was able to move into, and she also had a son that was in law school, and then he was going to eventually move back. So I had the apartment to myself. Penthouse apartment, $1,200 a month, 6 months removed from living at my grandmother's house with no prospects in sight. I'm dating this girl.
Just quit gambling.
Just started finally having some money, and now I'm living on the Upper East Side of Manhattan in a penthouse with a doorman, with elevator. And
was she surprised when you told her look what I just did? Look where.
Yeah, I said, wait till you hear this. And so, she started staying with me. And then it got to a point where she was... So the son came back from law school and was going to move to New York. And then after like 2 months, he's like, actually, I'm taking a job in L.A.
Okay.
So I was there for 2 years. He lived there for 2 months of the 2 years. The rest of the time, I had the apartment to myself. But then my girlfriend then moved in. I asked if it was okay for her to move in with me. So she moved in with me.
Why did she move in?
Because she then like was about to lose her apartment, and I'm a fixer. I'm a savior guy. So I was like, no, I have like a savior complex. So I was like,
okay.
I'll talk to your landlord. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to tell the landlord. Blah blah blah. And then finally, I was like, well, why don't if you got to move out eventually, you might as well just move out and move in with me.
This was all within 6 months.
No, this was within
of y'all meeting each other.
Maybe 9 months.
So 9 months she moves in, and what's it like her living with you?
It's good, except she's now like when she's like not working. I became a manager instead of just being a server. So like that was a step for me, but it was a step that I thought I was taking for us though. Like I was already looking like planning. Like I don't want to be a fucking waiter, for the rest of my life. And I'd been an actor. I had thought about doing stand up, but I never had the courage to do it. So I was like, I gotta do something in my life. So I decided to like become a manager. So then I was like way busy. I was way stressed out. I'm somebody who, again, like I'm very, like I can be very high strung. So I was bringing.
Did y'all ever have times where y'all just sat down and like had a day where it's just her day?
I mean, we did a lot of stuff that she wanted to do. Like we traveled a lot, which is what she wanted to do.
Like where? Where'd y'all go?
We went to Edinburgh and London. We went to Portugal for this. This was the best of our relationship in a nutshell. So she's like, I want to go on a big trip, and I'm like hemming and all. I'm like, I finally got money, and now I gotta spend money on a trip. I'm like, I can be a little bit of a miserable. So I was like, she's like, I want to go to Portugal. I was like, I grew up around Portuguese people. Like, why would we go to Portugal? I was like, we've been going to Portuguese restaurants in Newark my entire life. So she literally put together like the nicest email I've ever seen. Like she sent me a proposal for a vacation. Literally day by day, this is where we're going to stay. These are hyperlinks to the hotel. We're going to do this for 3 days, and we're going to eat at these possible restaurants, and we're going to see these possible sites. Like literally took us through the whole trip. And I was so impressed with the email that I was like, I have to go on this trip. So another thing we would always fight about when she was like kind of like, she's like, you fought me. You didn't want to go on the trip. And then we went to Portugal, and you were so happy the whole time. We
went to Lisbon?
We went to Lisbon. We went to Sintra. We went to the Algarve.
I love that little castle.
So I grew up near the Algarve fish market. I didn't know what the Algarve was when I was a kid. I just knew that's where my dad went and got his fish. But the Algarve is like the southern part of
Portugal.
Portugal was incredible. Now it's overrun by tourists. Like 6-7 years ago, there was no Americans really going there. Not a lot.
There's like a big college there or something like that. So I see a lot of international kids. Me and my lady went there this summer.
They have university and stuff, but like it wasn't really a destination
place
until like a year after we went. So when we got there, they didn't even really know how to like deal with Americans. Like everything was like way cheaper than it should have been. Like we never felt like we were getting ripped off or like taken advantage of, like, which I felt like in Italy and France all of the time, because they're so used to dealing with tourists and try to squeeze tourists out of money. But that trip was incredible. Like that was like, I had never done anything. We were there for 15 days. I had never done anything remotely like that with a girl.
This is year one, Portugal?
This was probably a year after we'd been together. But then this was also like a point of pressure for me, because it's like, okay, but then it's like, well, my friend's getting married in California. Okay, we got to go to California for the friend's wedding. And then my other friend's getting married in England. Okay, we go to England for the friend. All right, well, now my friend's getting married. Another friend's getting married in Texas. I was like, I don't really want to do, like, I think we should not go on this trip. And we fought about it. And then it turned out to kind of be that trip didn't go well. And then me kind of being a bit of a jerk, I never said like, see, you should have listened to me. I told you it was going to be a bad trip. But I probably gave off those vibes of like, see, I told you, like, why don't you listen to me? Like, it can't just be that every time, one of your friends is getting married that we're going to like put ourselves in financial jeopardy because you have to be there. God forbid you miss a wedding.
But wasn't it your friend getting married, not hers?
No, these were all hers. I wanted to go to my cousin's wedding in Mexico that we didn't go to because we had just gone to another destination wedding for her. So you guys have
been playing house before marriage. You two guys are pretty much common law marriage.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. We were basically we had a cat at that point. We adopted a cat together.
Because that's the reason why we said the cat. If you don't know, folks, Peter.
They don't know. Why would they know?
They don't know. People don't know. But Peter and his girl have a cat that they share together.
So
after they've broken up, their excuse to see each other is that
always the cat. We basically share custody of the cat.
The cat.
So what happened was I cat sat for a friend, and I've always had this thing with animals. My father too. Like the men in my family, like we have this like weird connection with. Right. I say that I'm a sheep whisperer. Like if you see me like on a farm, like the animals just like follow me.
I say you're more a cat whisperer.
But I'm also a cat whisperer. Okay. So my aunt, who's like a crazy cat lady who has like 6 cats, she works with some like adoption agency in New Jersey. When she found out that I had cat sat. She goes, "Oh, there's this special cat that I want you to adopt." So I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna adopt a cat. So I went to this lady's house. This cat had been found coming out of a swamp as a kitten. She was abandoned in a swamp in New Jersey. She had a hernia, so they gave her hernia surgery. So the woman was keeping the cat in the bathroom. I met the cat, and the lady goes, "Oh, she's showing you her belly where she had the surgery." She goes, "That's interesting." She goes, "That's not normal for her. She's a very guarded cat, so that means something that she's showing you her belly." And so immediately, me and the cat bonded, and I said I basically got her the cat for Christmas. So she was in California for Christmas for a couple of days, so I had the cat with me for a few days. The cat was hiding under the bed, and I finally got her out from under the bed, and then the girl came back from California, and now we had the cat together.
She enjoys the cat.
She's had. So when we finally broke up, she said, I'm taking the cat with me. And I go, "Why would you assume that you're taking the cat with you?" And I said, she goes, "You wouldn't be that cruel." She goes, "You know how much the cat means to me." She goes, "You got me that cat for Christmas. You're not going to fight me over the cat." And I was like, "Fine, just take the cat." But then since then, I've had custody of the cat at least
Were
twice.
you trying to hold on to her? That's why you said you're not taking a cat?
No, funnily enough, when we moved out of the penthouse, we got another apartment in East Harlem. And then that was another. It was very tense the whole time we were in East Harlem. She didn't like the apartment. She didn't like the neighborhood.
This is the same place you're living now.
This is the same place I'm living now. We bought furniture together, and then, it was just a lot of butting heads. Nothing really bad happened, and we were just constantly at each other's.
When does she leave? What was the last argument where she goes "I'm out"?
Funnily enough,
F you and your bald head.
Funnily enough, we went to go see Get Out.
Oh, I can see why she left you now.
So she could be a little bit of I'm a little bit of I could be naive and kind of, I've been described as a golden retriever. I'm kind of oh yeah, okay. And so I'll talk to the movie when we're at the movie theater. And she's very prim and proper, which is why the comedy thing is very fun. She is not comfortable being with somebody who's open publicly and who is up on stage talking about themselves. And that's who I am. And so she had snapped at me a couple times in movies, and I'm just kind of I was don't talk to me that way. So we went to see Get Out with another couple that I'm friends with, and she snapped at me in the movie theater.
Snapped at, what did she say?
She's shh. She's "Do you always have to talk?" What's one of those "Does it always have to be about you?" Blah blah blah. The kind of mean shit that you say when you hate your boyfriend. And so we went our separate ways with the friends, and then we had this big fight. And I said something to the effect of I was "Listen, I don't care." And I as we know, as you know, sometimes I say things and the intention is right, but the way I verbalize it,
it's horrible.
It's horrible. So I think I said something to the effect of "Listen, I don't care that your dad left you when you were a kid. I don't care that your mother died. I care about us."
You said that for her face?
I said I care about us and what we're doing. And she did not take that well.
Nobody
and we
would take that well.
Fought that night, and then the next day. But do you understand what my intention is?
No, what your intention was to bring up everything that hurt her.
No, my intention is that she and I together had to decide how to live with each other, and it wasn't fair to me that she would use this trump card that.
But she's dealing with. Imagine you didn't think about. She lost her mother.
No, listen. I was there for her every step of the way. I was very caring for her, and there's been other times when she had rough. Even since we broke up, there's been times when she had rough situations, and I just stood by her side.
But throwing it in her face is saying I've took care of this, and here.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have brought up.
You should never speak. I personally think that you should never speak to your significant other when you're highly upset.
So we were at each other's throats. It was bad. We should not have had. And so the fight continued into the apartment and into the next day, and she flipped out on me, and oh fuck, I remember now. She goes, I need to take a break. She goes, what I'm going to do? She goes, I'm going to California in a week. I'm gonna, I'm gonna go to California, and then we're gonna figure things out. And I was like, no. I was like, do you think I'm gonna like just come home every day and you're just gonna be sitting in here when I come home? So I was like, I don't want this, but if you want to leave, then you need to leave right now.
Oh.
And then her world like came crashing down because she had no place to live. She didn't have a job. And I'd been taking care of everything at this point for years now. And so
she hadn't had a job in 4 years?
She got a job. She got a really good job where she was making more money than I was making. And it just didn't work out. And so she lost that job after like 8 months, which was probably like really hard for her to take. I think that was even harder than the initial like being unemployed.
But she was trying though.
Yeah. Oh, she was constantly going on interviews.
So she was trying.
But it was making her she was getting more and more depressed, which was making it harder and harder on our relationship. So I left, and she like started going to like, I guess she went to her sister's apartment, and then she had to like arrange for, at that point I became a manager at the little Italian restaurant that we met. And then I got a job working at like one of the biggest restaurants in New York City as a manager. And then I wanted to be the beverage manager, and I fought for it, and I became the beverage manager. So I felt like she was like upset because I was gone like nights and weekends. I got a new schedule where I was off weekends. But then she lost her job, so it didn't even matter that we had the weekends free because she was at home the whole week. So I was like resentful too. I felt like I was doing all this stuff for us. Like I was like working really hard. I was killing myself. I was working like 13 hours a day, and then I was coming home to her giving me a hard time.
Did you see a marriage anywhere?
So one of the things that really upset me was that I felt like I was doing this for us, and I had said, I was like, you're my, I forget, how did I say it? I didn't say you were my dream girl. I might have said, I was like, you're the girl of my dreams. Like this is it. And whenever she had like a lot of anxiety and stuff too. Like, and I feel like whenever I brought up marriage or anything kind of permanent, she would like react weirdly. So then I was like, am I doing all this stuff and doing all this planning and like sacrificing and paying the rent and buying the furniture and doing all that stuff for a girl who's just going to leave me one day? So that hurt me, because I was like, because if, I'm somebody like, I'm very loyal. Like if we're in it together, we're in it together. So if my wife is sick or my wife is unemployed or my wife is whatever, I was like, all right, I will do whatever. Like right. My mom stayed home for 20 something years taking care of 4 kids. I don't have any problem being the breadwinner while the wife stays home. But if you're my girlfriend and I'm doing all of that stuff, and then you're still deciding whether or not you want to get married, or the idea of getting married to me makes you...
But what steps were you taking to marry her?
You're big on the ring. I didn't take any steps.
But I'm saying, I think a woman has to know that some people it's just like hot air. If you're saying like, I want to marry you, and
I thought with all the job stuff, it was like getting the better job, getting the better schedule, like making more money, like pushing myself constantly. I was doing all of that stuff.
Okay, stop there and talk about how stand-up affected her life.
Oh, so this is interesting. So
because that's a thing in general, like when you're doing stand-up as a spouse, when your spouse starting to do stand-up, because there goes the nights.
So it's interesting. So I had dipped my toes in for a while. Like I was about to say before, like I did stand up for the first time when I was 8 years old, and like in front of the whole school, and I was like super shy. So I was super shy, and I decided to do the talent show for whatever reason, and I felt
talent show where?
At like my elementary school in Jersey.
At a grown man, 33?
No, at 8 years old.
Oh,
no, I'm saying I
thought you did stand up.
I felt like the power of it for the first time, and then I didn't do anything for years. When I was gambling, I had gone to like acting school, but I was the whole time I was like gambling, I was like in acting school, and then I was trying to do play. Nothing was like going anywhere. Okay. And I dipped my toes into stand up, and then finally, at like really like 35, which is super late for stand up, I decided, I was like, what if I'm just going to focus my energy on one thing? What makes the most sense? Am I trying to do commercials? Am I trying to do theater? Am I trying to do movies? And I was like, no, the thing that makes the most sense is to do stand-up. It's me alone. It's me on stage.
But it's
me talking directly to the audience.
But stand-up is a hard task for a person who's never seen it before.
That's how naive I was. I was like, well, I'll just be funny. And I was funny. I was funny right away.
Right, but how did your girl
so
take it?
So she started coming to stuff, and she supported me. She would come to. She got to the point where she like knew other people's jokes. She's like, if I hear so and so say that joke one more time,
yeah, I can't go to open. That's what she's like. She'll never go to open mic again.
Yeah. So she was very supportive. She would come to everything, but at certain points, she's like, you used to be busy at nights with the restaurant, and now that you got some nights off, you're just doing stand-up. She's like you prioritize everything, but I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I've been prioritizing you the whole time. So this past time when we like, I just really quickly, like this past year, I've been helping my family like build a house, and I didn't know what I was doing. I literally learned on the fly how to build a house, and the house is almost done, and it came out incredible. And I'm like, was super nervous, super anxious, and like I figured it out. And she said to me, she goes, you wanted to be a comedian and you became a comedian. You wanted to build a house and you built a house. She goes, if you had put your mind to us, we would be married by now. And I was like, motherfucker. I was like, how can you put that on me after everything?
Because
that I
when
did?
you start dating a woman in your 30s, you got 2 years tops to get a ring.
You think so?
Yeah. When you're dating in your 30s, time is doubled.
Where were you 6 years ago?
Me and my lady were dating in our 20s, so we always had time.
No, I'm saying,
so
why didn't you tell me this 6 years ago?
I know, but I mean, I noticed that. I noticed that when she started getting older, I was like, all right, time. It's not. She's not gonna be 30 and not be engaged or anything else. I had to show her that, look, I'm serious. But when you're in 20s, you're figuring things out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 20s, nobody cares. No one's rushing you. Everything. Oh, they're 25. Let them take time. But when you get to your 30s. You're thinking about her biological clock. You're thinking about everything else. So she wanted to be like, hey, what steps are you taking to make me your wife? You're just like saying, like, I want you to be my wife. It's like, but this milk is free. Like, why are you really going to purchase this 2% milk?
But I would have, if she had said.
Sometimes you have to be the one.
I know.
To take command. Freaking Eli Pope said, you don't take command, son. Command takes you.
Wait, who's that, Eli Pope?
Eli Pope is Olivia Pope's dad.
Oh, Scandal?
Scandal, yeah.
I don't watch that thing, but it makes sense. It's Joe Morton, right?
You don't take command.
Joe Morton's great.
Command takes you.
I saw Joe Morton on Broadway. He's great.
You gotta let command take you. Because every time I see you guys, when I saw you guys, I saw her at the barbecue that you had.
Yeah, it was my birthday party. Yeah,
as soon as she came, everyone was so excited about she's coming. She had a little aluminum foil pan wrapped
So it's
up.
funny. It's so we had been broken up. I'm very like private with my family, so I didn't tell my family that we had been like back together because it wasn't really official. So I had a barbecue. I belong to a garden in East Harlem, and so I was having a barbecue in the garden.
You should have another one too.
I'm gonna have Peter Palooza 2020 coming up in May. So she baked a sheet tray of pasta with pesto, and she made all this food. I freaked out on her because I thought it was too much food, which is me being a maniac, and I'm crazy, and I get it, and I apologize afterwards. Of course, people went nuts over the food that she made. So my family rolls up to the barbecue, and she's there. And they're like, oh, like they had no idea. Like everybody was kind of caught off guard. I didn't warn them that she was going to be there. I didn't warn her that my family had no idea. And she just like rolled in, and she was like my ride or die. Like she made all this food. Like she like sacrificed for me. And at this point, we were not technically together. This was after we had been broken up for 2 years at this point.
So Peter and his girl's been broken up for a while, but she's been leaving him signs to get back with him, and you're not taking up the signs. F the cat. You guys don't love this cat. The cat is a symbol of you guys together.
Yeah. So
if you really wanted to break up, you just could throw the cat away and get another one.
So should we tie this to like why tonight we're having this conversation? Finally, I think we've got to that point.
So let's read the text message.
Should I read it?
Read it.
Somebody who knows her is going to find out.
This is what I'm saying. If you,
she is a private.
Sometimes you got to break that thing up. She wants it private, but y'all not even together right now.
So we haven't spoken about anything but the cat for at least 2 months. Like I thought, like this is it. Like I thought.
So
this
she's
is
tipsy
it, this
right
is it.
now. She had a few.
So I
glasses
did
of
let her
wine.
come see the cat in my apartment because I basically took the cat back and then I let her come see the cat. So I haven't talked to her about anything but the cat since the beginning of January. So out of the blue, I got a text tonight that said, "I've had drinks, but you need to know I've loved you very, very much. I've always felt protective of you, close to you, and I'm sorry I've had trouble processing things in my life that damaged what we had. It's not all my fault. We struggled together. But I understand where I've been unstable and not a good partner, but you were never unloved by me. And I'm fine now, so no cause for concern. But I needed to say that." So I got this message like 5 minutes before I went on stage.
He's effed up.
And decided
as
to.
you can hear, he's emotional now.
I even said when I got on stage, I was like, "This is the soonest I've ever been on stage." Immediately after I've cried. And then I got up and I started saying bullshit about Harvey Weinstein, and this other female comic decided to like heckle me, and I was like kind of like just trying to figure out. I wasn't like angry, and I was trying to like
A lot on your mind.
have like and I said I wasn't kidding about the just crying part. And
I thought you were kidding to just crying. Until I saw you. I've seen you cry 12 times a day. This is the 12th time you cried reading that text message.
In the last 3 hours, this was 4 hours ago that I got this message. And so it was just like the perfect storm of like me being particularly vulnerable and in a bad mood. And like,
Let's not even bring up the Harvey Weinstein. The joke's done.
yeah, it's alright.
This is what I'm saying. The tears that you just shed right now, you don't want to be without her. So why are you without her now?
Or is it just me being like needy and codependent?
It's not codependent. If you love this woman, you don't want to be without her. You guys are pretending to love this cat. F this cat. This cat has nothing to do with your relationship. The cat is keeping you guys seeing each other.
Yeah.
Tell the story how she's leaving mail at your house.
Oh no! So we hadn't no contact, and then I get there's an Amazon package for her, and I was like, oh, here we go. So she's like, hey, I accidentally got an Amazon package sent to your house, and then the next day another package came. I was like, all right, the packages are here. You can come pick them up when I'm not here, and then you can see the cat. So I took all the stuff that she had left in my apartment, which was like 2 shopping bags full of clothes and whatever paraphernalia, and I put them in the corner of my room and put the Amazon package on top of the bags. So she comes and sees the cat. I'm away. I get back, and of course, it's like she left like a ginger ale bottle on my freaking couch. Like the pillow on the. I hate when pillows are on the floor. She left the pillow on the floor. Like all the things that piss me off because I'm like very uptight and an asshole sometimes. And she left. She took the package, but she left the stuff. So I haven't acknowledged it. But part of me wants to text her and be like, "Why did you not take your stuff?"
Why do you think she's leaving signs for you?
So, but
why did you think she's doing everything that make you upset? So now you're thinking about her even when she's not there.
So part of me wishes I was cold-blooded enough to say, take your stuff. And I basically said to her the last time, I was like, either we get back together or you can't be in my life at all because it's too painful.
And she said, hold my cat.
And she said, I can't imagine you not being in my life. So part of me wants to say, come, like, part of me wants to go, why come and get your stuff? Why are you leaving your stuff in my apartment? But I'm afraid then her response is going to be, all right, I'm going to come get my stuff, and that's going to be it.
Why don't you go to her place and bring her back? What's stopping you? Because you got to think about it like this.
She told me now that she needs a break.
She needs a break, but at the same time, she's proven to you that she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Who else has cried on this podcast? Anybody? Nobody, right?
No, everybody.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Comedians?
Comedians, people.
This is like some Mark Maron shit.
When people get up here and they start crying, man, I told you, think about it, this whole podcast, not to plug the podcast. It's about being alone with your own thoughts. It's the scariest place because you're scared of your girl leaving you forever.
So, like,
you have to admit that you are scared,
of course,
that she'll leave you forever. However, your whole thing was gambling. Your whole life, you gamble. So why won't you gamble on yourself and bet on yourself and see? I'm going to put all my chips on her right now.
Well, yes, and it is funny, and this is in a way this is related to comedy too, because it's like that's also betting on yourself, and that's also like exposing yourself. The best comedians, they're letting you. Yes, they're telling jokes, and yes, it's a performance, and yes, it's an act, and not everything has to be personal. And like I think like this culture is like way too therapeutic, and everybody's talking about their feelings and blah blah blah. But at the same time, it's like the audience wants to love you. They want the people who quote unquote fans. They want to be. They want to be part of something. They want to spend time with you. They want to be in the room with you. They want to know you. And so, in order to do that, you have to, like, I know my self-sabotage is putting up a wall and not being my true self.
So what? You 40 years old, 41.
About to be 40. By the time we celebrate Peter Palooza in May,
41.
I'll be 41. I can't
You're
believe
41.
I
You
feel like I give
kids.
up a 32 vibe.
No,
I
you
look
don't.
young.
No, you look 40. You look 41.
You're the only one who says that.
You gotta think about it like this. You don't want to be alone. You found the girl of your dreams. There's nothing stopping you from bringing her back into your dreams. You literally could see her if you wanted to. You just have to stay and watch the cat.
Yeah.
So my thing is, you have to get to the point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and realizing that I'm about to go get her. Think about how she says that, how she always remembers the times where you were aggressive. You've lost your mojo.
I have lost my mojo.
Why?
Yeah.
Why have you lost your mojo?
I feel, it's funny because I feel...
you met her when she was down and out. You don't think she'll hold you down when you're down and out?
I feel less... I feel weaker. I have lost my mojo a bit. I don't know what it is.
Because you're not with her.
But because when we were together the last time, it was not... I was very anxious. I was very... like in my head, and I don't know if that's related to like insecurity, because now I'm in a place right now where I'm insecure
about what
with money and stuff in the future. Like I'm really going for it. Like I really believe that I have what it takes to be like successful as. But you don't think
she's down to build with you?
No, but I also know that my age is. I feel like I've always felt like, one, I've always felt the weight of the world on my shoulders, but two, I've always felt like I'm running out of time, and so I beat myself up because if I hadn't gambled and if I hadn't bullshit, and if I was 25 right now, where I am, I'd be kicking ass.
Yeah, but you can't go back in time, and you got to think about it. The gambling got you to her.
Yeah, no.
If it wasn't for gambling, it wasn't for these
people
situations.
Say, like, all that stuff had to happen for me to get to where I am now.
Because the second time you won't lose it.
No, listen, and I always said this is like, these young people, they become stars and they get in trouble with like drugs or whatever. It's like I practiced before I had any money so that when I actually am like successful, like I will not. There's no way I'm gonna blow it.
I really think. My personal opinion from what I saw at that comedy club, because you were on stage and you're getting ready, and I was just watching her the whole time. Did she tell you I was watching her?
No, you told me.
She didn't know that I was watching her because I wanted to see how she was doing. So like outside of the club, we're at Brokerage Comedy Club. You could see into the showroom, but on the back of you is the TV of where you're performing. She was looking at both. She was looking at crowd reaction. She was smiling at everything you're setting up and everything else. I was like, oh, she really adores this man.
Huh.
Then in the car, I think you guys are arguing frustrated because when I was asking those questions, she was getting frustrated when I kept asking. I was like, why aren't you guys together? It's because of him. Da-da-da-da. But I'm like, you're riding to a comedy club. We're riding 40 minutes away. Who's down to do that? You can never be friends. After you hit that point, there's no need. You can never be friends with a person if you know that there's that tension of just like, we should have been married already. City Hall's right up the block.
Yeah.
You could have taken her like, hey, get your clothes on. I'm moving you back in my house. Let's go to City Hall. If you give her no options, she'll have no options. Not saying very aggressive, but you gotta take command again. You're sitting here on my couch. You're crying like this is a Dr. Phil session. She's sending you a text message. Now you're thinking about all the good times and the bad times. You clearly don't want to be without her. You clearly want to be with her. She's leaving crumbs at your house to make you upset. Like, go get your girl, dog.
Yeah.
Go get her.
Was that the night that Kevin James dropped in?
It don't matter who dropped in.
I think that
this was the night you need to drop in and get your relationship back, dog.
Yeah. Kevin James drop
I don't
dead.
even think it's an age thing. I think it's for her. It's just like she needs to know that you're down to
Well,
run into
but
a
then
brick wall with
But
her.
also, that's where I also feel insecure because I'm in an insecure. I'm mad at myself because I I saw my buddy this weekend who's like a doctor and
But you
and he's
can't.
got money and
Don't.
all that stuff.
But she's down. You've seen her at her worst, and now you're at your worst. You can only go up from here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. The thing is too, like,
You're not doing bad. You
comedy is actually going pretty well as well. It's not financially.
She'll be on the road with you selling merchandise.
I mean, that dude. She's in marketing. She's the one who's like helped me like.
She brought a pan of whatever that thing was to your birthday party.
Yeah, pesto. She made pesto from scratch. It was amazing.
Look.
She made it. So she knows that my parents don't eat cheese. She purposely left the cheese out of the pesto so my parents can.
Does your family love her?
I think so.
Do you love her?
Yeah.
I don't see the issue. I don't see what the problem is. Yeah, both love each other. She just sent you a text message that rocked your whole world.
Yeah. But did she do that just to make me upset?
No, she didn't make you upset. She wants you to commit. You have not committed yet. You're fine with her walking in your apartment, rubbing a cat, and leaving ginger ale in your house.
That's one way to put it.
Because that makes you think of her instead of saying, like, look, I don't want you to leave ginger ale. I want you to leave the rest of your stuff. Let's go to City Hall tomorrow. I'll get a ring later.
That's nuts, dude. I don't know if I have the balls to do that.
You got the balls to let her go walk out your life.
I'm ballsy, but I don't know if I'm that ballsy.
Don't let it go, man. Don't let it. I say don't let it happen. Don't let it go where you shoulda, coulda, woulda instead of doing it. You said your whole life you gambled. You stopped gambling. I think the next gamble you got to roll the dice on is with this relationship. Because they said the hardest part of gambling, like when you're doing the dice, is rolling the dice because the outcome's the outcome. You already know that you can't control the outcome. It's going to happen. But having the stones to roll them again.
Yeah.
So I know you stopped gambling for 7 years, but this time I think you got to gamble with your life, man, and gamble on love.
Maybe.
That might be the name of this episode, Gambling on Love.
Yeah. I did not see this coming. It's 2:40. What's your longest episode? This has got to be the longest episode you've ever done.
Nope.
Would you imagine if at the end you're like, oh shit, it didn't record?
Or if I say, you know what?
We're not gonna release this episode.
I just thought about it. Y'all shouldn't be together.
Yeah.
That'd be effed up. All right. Well, we took a turn for this podcast. We usually do certain things, but we end it with 5 questions, right?
Oh boy.
5 questions. A lot of people blowing me up. Make sure you guys all follow him on social media. Drop your social media, Peter.
I'm the Guarraci on Instagram.
And ladies, I'm not gonna say ladies, but to the ladies that listen to me, this man right here is heartbroken. He's white. He's heartbroken.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just describing you. He's in an interracial relationship. He's sitting here with a Bugle Boy jeans on and a shirt, belly all out. Been crying for the past 2 hours. He's been walking a bike throughout Harlem, and we had to get on a train with a bike. And this is Peter Guarraci, and I thank you, sir, for being open and being vulnerable with us on this podcast. This is what we talked about on the train. The whole time I was like, save it. Let's save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going to ask you these 5 questions, and after that, we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, here we go. You ready for the last 5 questions? These are 5 questions I ask everybody on the podcast.
Oh, man, I can't wait to see where this goes.
Okay.
At this point, what could it be?
What could it be? All right. Do you believe in God?
Yes.
What's your favorite person in the Bible?
It changes. I've been thinking a lot about. I like David. David confuses me though because I like David. I like Joseph. I like Jacob.
You got to pick one. I say favorite character. You pick 6.
Pick
one.
I would say Joseph.
Joseph.
In the Old Testament, yeah.
Because of what? His story of
I
his
think
brothers betrayed him.
The story is great. In like, the Bible's all about the God picking the guy that man wouldn't pick, and that's true of Jacob. That's true of Abraham. That's true of David, and Joseph is kind of the culmination of, the person that you wouldn't pick, and then the fact that his brothers betrayed him, and then he goes to like,
And a sign of a second chance.
and also yeah, I mean, my life has been like ending up in a strange situation, like it looks like it's going to be the end, and then things turn around, and that's the whole story of Joseph. It's like he's literally like in a pit, and next thing you know, he's like running.
Somebody remembered him.
He's running the grain supply for Egypt.
I should just read that whole book.
Genesis.
It's in my Bible.
It's the last 8 chapters of Genesis is all. That's crazy. Like all like it was one of the things that's so interesting, and because we're as performers, we're storytellers. Like the story of Cain and Abel is a couple of lines in the Bible. The story of Noah is maybe a few more lines in the Bible.
It took a lot of the books out of the Bible out. Remember that?
Well, but those stories, they're so powerful in the simplicity.
Okay,
it's not about just the way storytelling works is like you don't need to complicate it. Like everybody knows. There's so much meaning in there, even in those few lines. It's incredible.
So why don't you take your own advice? You don't need so many words and tell your girl that.
No, interesting.
Or you should write her a letter.
Maybe.
Is her love language reading or auditory stuff? Or is her love language gift giving? Or is it distance? What is her love language?
I think she's
Words of affirmation.
Yeah.
You should write her a letter.
Maybe.
Mail it to her too, so she opens it in the mail. Good idea, right?
Yeah.
Write her a letter, spill it all out, type it up, because your handwriting looks like it'll be sloppy the way how you're dressing now. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I can't read
your
my
handwriting sloppy.
That's why I was like, what have you seen? Oh.
Favorite verse in the Bible?
Oof. Greater love no man has than this, that he laid down his life for his friends.
Got it. When's the last time you had a nightmare?
Last night.
About what?
So I don't have it's weird. I've never had like existential terror. I don't have like nightmares about monsters or dying. My nightmares are always like I get home and I just missed the party, and the girl in high school that I had a crush on is leaving at my house as it's always like a missing out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also like have these dreams where it's just like I'm like a hamster on a wheel. So like in the dream, I'm like in an office and I'm just like doing busy work, and it's like I'm like worried that like I'm gonna just like pass through life without any real meaning, any real achievement, and I'm just like that's a nightmare to me, to just like spend your life like wasting away.
It's crazy to me that you have all these signs about wasting time.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me.
And you waste a lot of time.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah.
Let's keep going. Your biggest fear?
Can
I answer this for you? Is it being alone?
There's a famous Patrice thing where it's like he's like, ladies, fellas, we don't want to be alone, but we want to be by ourselves. Like I've always, and I grew up like kind of in a chaotic household, but family's always there. Like I need my Peter time, I need my alone time, but like yeah, I don't want to be lonely. And I went through a long phase where I was like very lonely.
You ever had a panic attack?
I feel like I have anxiety all of the time, but I'm really good at hiding it. I don't know that I've ever had a full-blown panic attack, though. This is interesting, and I think this is true. I'm very good under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like I definitely have ADD, but like ADD people like also hyper focus. So if the heat is on, I hyper focus and I stay very calm, and I can do things under pressure. And I think it's because I came from like a loud, chaotic family where like the only way you can get anything done is to block out whatever distractions there are. Otherwise, You're just kind of in the gas. So I'm real good under pressure. But then like if I have like too much time on my hands, or if I'm like waiting, nothing makes me feel more nervous than waiting for other people to do what I need them to do.
Okay, here we go. Do you believe in soulmates?
I want to believe it, but I've also I don't know. I also know like that my grandparents were like basically arranged, and then at the end my grandmother was like taking care of my grandfather who had Alzheimer's, and like that's a special thing. So were they did a lightning bolt strike them? I don't know, but 70 years later she's bathing him and taking care of him, like, and I think That's what me and my cousins and my brothers would joke. It's like seeing grandma take care of him, like spoiled us for American women. Because we're like, what girl in like 20?
I think your lady would take care of you.
Yeah, no, I think that's true.
She would nurse you back.
She
there.
is a.
She goes the extra mile.
So let's put it this way. We had a fight earlier, a couple months ago, and I let her come to my apartment to visit the cat. And I walked into the apartment, and it was like her greatest. I was like laughing because it was like her greatest hits. Like all the things that pissed me off, not changing the toilet paper roll, wet towel on the bed. I was like, really, this is what she's gonna do? And then I opened the fridge, and it was full of food. But she made a baked ziti, and then she put it into individual Tupperware containers because she knows I like to like freeze some and then defrost like one serving's worth and eat one serving. So I had like 6 Tupperware containers of ziti in the fridge. And so I called her. I was like, "What is this?" I was like, is this a trick? What are you doing?" She goes, "We're dysfunctional. We're not talking." She goes, "But I knew you weren't going to have any food in the house, and I was worried about you being hungry."
Come on, man. You over here playing around, man. You over here playing around. She made you some Tahiti and Tupperware bowls.
Ziti, baked ziti, Tahiti.
Well, I don't know these Italian dishes, but
you're not hanging around. Dude, you gotta learn you some Italian stuff.
Yeah, y'all don't invite me.
You came to my barbecue.
Yeah, but y'all.
You were the first person there.
No, I had to leave because Tyler Perry had a play, and I had to go watch.
Oh my god! So you chose Tyler Perry over me.
I paid. Yeah, he was his farewell tour. Paid $50 for those tickets. Actually, I paid $32.
All right.
It was a good show too.
You missed a hell of
TP.
You missed a hell of a barbecue. That was the day I met Grant too. You had Grant with you.
Remember, we start frying up the sausages already. I said, "Look, we can't waste no time. Let's start frying these sausages up. I'm hungry." Then your girl came with all this food. I was like, "Oh," he's like, because Grant goes, "Who's that black girl over there?" I was, "That's his old lady." He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, you got some yams on that thing, huh?" He goes, "Yeah, she nice." I said, "Yeah, you see why he always act with his wild."
What does that mean?
Wow, you could tell that
girl. Like, what's funny is black girls smell it on you. I've had other black women go like, "You date black girls?" I was like, "What?" They're like, "You just."
But the way you sounded like you're hunting them. You just say she just happens to be black.
No, it's
They can tell when a white dude has dated a black. I could tell it too.
It's. I'm not hunting them, but like I think they sense. I think people sense like they sense a discomfort, and they also sense a sense of ease. So if I'm speaking to a black woman casually in conversation and she senses a sense of ease, she assumes that I'm comfortable speaking to a black woman.
She assumes you got jungle fever. That's what Stevie Wonder said.
That's offensive. That's an offensive statement.
Jungle fever?
Yeah.
That's what Stevie Wonder said.
Is that where it came from originally?
I don't know. I just heard the song. She's got jungle fever.
Hmm.
I got jungle fever.
They got jungle fever. They're in love.
She's gone black boy crazy. He's gone white girl hazy.
I actually never saw that movie all the way through.
Me either. But I know the song.
Spike Lee.
Let's think about it like this. Because inside our culture, the black woman is the ultimate goal and the ultimate gift. And to get a black woman, you have to come correct. So for you to come correct and be able to love a black woman and support a black woman, she will treat you like a king. And that's what she's showing you. She let you feel like the king of the jungle.
Yeah.
And you over here walking around like Scar. Hanging with these hyenas, not wanting to take your place in Pride Walk, my brother. You better leave Timon and Pumbaa around.
Always with the references, this one.
We got a couple more questions and we're almost done. What do you think happens when you die?
I mean, I definitely believe in heaven and hell. I don't know if there's like a processing station. There's a lot of contradictory stuff in the Bible where it's like, today you will be with me in paradise. But then there's also like, I think time, like temporal reality, is a human thing that maybe doesn't necessarily work for like heavenly bodies. So I don't know that you like the second you die, you immediately go to heaven or hell, but I certainly believe in a spiritual realm in the afterlife.
You ready for the last one?
Sure.
All right. Now, this one is it's a game called Who Are You, right? So I'm going to say, who are you? And you have to give me an immediate response. And the goal is to go beyond yourself and talk about who you are beyond it. Now, I'm going to point to you. You say, who are you? And I'm going to answer it. Ready, go.
Who are you?
Jared Waters.
Who are you?
2-time wrestling champion.
Who are you?
Stand-up comic.
Who are you?
Fiance.
Who are you?
That's how it goes.
Oh boy.
I want to do that to you until you stop. Ready?
Well, when is stopping happening?
Who are you?
Peter Guarraci.
Who are you?
Antoinette's son.
Who are you?
Sicilian boy.
Who are you?
Jersey boy.
Who are you?
The funniest guy in the room.
Who are you?
Guy who's always saying stupid shit.
Who are you?
Scared kid.
Who are you?
Someone who doesn't understand how to get along with other people.
Who are you?
Warm and friendly.
Who are you?
Scared.
Who are you?
A good dancer.
Who are you?
Wants to be loved.
Who are you?
Loves skateboarding.
Who are you?
Feels like he's fat.
Who are you?
A nice guy.
Who are you?
Somebody who shows up for people.
Who are you?
Somebody you can depend on when you're in a jam.
Who are you?
The guy that you call when there's a problem.
Who are you?
A good friend.
Good. I'll end it there because you started pausing. Usually you can't pause. That's
Oh.
how rapid. I'm going to say this, right? I'm going to put 60 seconds on this clock. And if you could say anything to your lady right now, because she is going to listen to this, what would you tell her?
I would say that, I'm in pain and you're in pain, but I mean, we got to figure this out. Like, there's no reason. People that we know that met since we've been together are having kids. There's no reason why the two of us can't get over our own bullshit and figure it out and make it work. We just got to make it's not going to work by itself. We got to make it work, or we have to there's got to be a complete clean break, and we have to go our separate ways because it's too painful otherwise. And I don't want that.
We still got time. What are you doing, and what will you do to make this relationship work?
I mean, what I've been doing right now is giving her space and trying to not be needy and trying to not be and just trying to like work on me. I mean, I'm willing if
Are you
we're
willing to go into couples therapy?
Yeah, and she's come with me to my therapist, and she said she was going to come again, and then she didn't come again. Of course I'm willing to. Of course I am.
Are you willing to not live without her?
I mean, I to be honest, I know, I hear what you're saying, but I really think that that's out of my control at this point. Like, if she decides that...
She has no option anymore.
Yeah, that's not very progressive of you, is it?
When I got engaged, I told my lady, we're done dating. There was no other option.
Yeah.
We're going to be together.
That's
for
old
life.
school.
For life. This big rock is for you.
There is no tomorrow.
This big rock is for you. I don't know, it took a long time for me to do this, but I'm doing it now. And I'm showing you, like, look, we're going to have kids together. We're going to get old together. There ain't no divorce. There's nothing. Shoot, we didn't sign no prenuptial agreement. This is for real.
Yeah.
So if you really want this, you got to fight on the ice, man. This guy told me one time, he said, you got to fight till hell freezes over. Then after that, you got to be willing to fight on the ice for her.
Wow.
So are you ready to get on the ice? Because it's cold right now. Are you ready to stay on that ice?
It's cold. Yeah.
You're in my house. You're crying. You're white.
I'm not crying anymore. I'm white.
I'm just saying, it's a lot of bad things happening for you. It's like not going
I'm gonna get on a bicycle.
Being a straight white male in this business.
I'm gonna get on a bicycle at
and
3
ride
o'clock
home.
At 3 o'clock in the morning in this neighborhood. At 3 o'clock
East Harlem and drive to
with tears stuck to the side of my face, just riding in the
singing
cold.
Tennessee whiskey.
Oh my God! Listen to
Smooth as Tennessee whiskey.
Unbelievable.
And sweet. Let me try sweet.
I'm so cheesy. She told me
wine.
once I was maudlin, and I am. This is maudlin. Just crying.
Have you ever cried in front of her?
Oh, too many. I think that's my biggest problem.
Yeah, probably. She probably don't respect you.
I said on the train I trained her wrong because I think I was weak in front of her. I should have been more stoic.
She's not a puppy. Let's be progressive.
I should have been more stoic.
You didn't train her to do anything. You could just say you.
I trained her how to treat me.
You didn't train her how to teach you. You showed her the ways that you accepted to treat her.
Yeah,
Remember, she's not a puppy. You didn't train anything. However, if you cried like this in front of me, I can't imagine how many times you cried in front of her. So
yeah, I know it sucks. I don't know. I've always had
Has she cried in front of you?
Yeah, but she really fights it. She does not. Yeah. She's very.
I don't blame her.
She's not an easy crier.
Yeah.
and she has to like for her to cry like she's really got to break down. But the last 2 times we were together, she cried. But it took
because she wants this, man. She's crying because she wants it. You getting random text messages drunk. You got to listen to that Fat Sam Smith. You got to turn on Sam Smith.
Fat Sam Smith.
That's when he starts singing, I'm way too good at goodbyes. He had to realize, like, hey, I don't want this no more. I've got to get my man back.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Peter Guarraci. He's a stand-up comic. I would say follow on Instagram, but the way how sad he is, you probably won't see any good posts.
I swear I'm funny. There's no evidence of it on this episode, but
this is you don't have to be funny on this podcast. You just have to be open and honest.
This is
the darkest place in the world. That's what this preacher's telling me. The most darkest place and where everything happens is around 3:00 in the morning. That's when everything's sleeping. That's when your thoughts start becoming alive.
So it's funny because in the last couple of years in like the New York comedy scene, you make your comedy friends, and like you're my friend, and like there are people that I like hanging around certain people that I would be friends with even if we were not comedians. But like they only see a certain part of you, and everyone's sizing each other up, and what show are you on, and how did that guy get that spot, blah blah blah. Like that's the way comedians are. It's shitty. So like I've never like revealed this to anybody in comedy. I mean, I've told people like gambling stories or but I've never been like this in front of anybody that I know in the comedy world. So like anybody who knows me listening to this is gonna be like, they're probably gonna be like, oh yeah, he sounds like he would have been a crier.
One man, one tree, and a hill.
Good name for a podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jared Waters. Send love Peter's way, and we're going to pray that Peter gets his woman back. By this time next year, when we do this podcast again, you might come again, but I'm only going to welcome you back unless you have your girl.
Jeez, you're good. You're a good friend.
I'm not gonna take single Pete no more.
Should I plug my podcast?
Nope, I don't want your podcast being plugged here.
Forget it. Find me on the internet, and I'll tell you about it.
State your podcast. Tell them your podcast.
It's called Kill You Last. It's an 80s action movie podcast.
And we're gonna and we'll put a link to the podcast.
Sure.
Put a link to the podcast inside the details. This is Peter Guarraci, ladies and gentlemen. If you're out there and you love somebody and you don't want to live without that person, make it right.
Wow. I can't believe I just did this tonight.
If not, you'll be a man alone on a hill in my house crying. I'm Jared Waters, folks. Have a good night.
Bye.